Hi, I'm Jamie from One Eskimo, and this is Pete.
Also from One Eskimo, and we are in One Eskimo. Yeah, it was primarily we're all musicians, so the music side of things definitely came first. So we spent a long time on the record getting the songs right and developing a sound that was a bit more unique. So we were very conscious of making sure like instrumentation, those kind of choices were a bit different to the norm. So Jamie plays like a fretless bass, and Adam plays a cajon instead of a regular drum kit, and I play nylon string guitar, and then the ambient sounds and stuff that go around it sort of created quite a dreamlike sound. So when it came, as we were writing the record, Christian, the singer, was also kind of doing some drawings, like some sketches and that sort of thing that going along with it, which just kind of happened because he kind of has a lot of influence from sort of film-based things and that sort of thing. So as we were writing the songs, that was happening kind of organically, and strangely the idea to do an animation kind of came up from those drawings, and then some people that Chris knew who had a kind of small media company, and then the idea to kind of take these characters that he'd been kind of working on into somebody that kind of does it for real. We worked on our first animation, which was for a song called Home Time, and that animation, it was quite a weird process to go through, and from what you'd done musically to then see it come to life and work on the idea of the storyboards and that sort of thing for the story as it went along. And when that came out, it really was, we had no idea what that would do. It was something we wanted to do and try. And really from the idea that it would be nice to have something image-wise that went with the sound of the music. So that first video kind of took a group of about 6 guys on laptops in bedrooms and that sort of thing, about 6 months to do a 4-minute song. And then when, at the end of that, we got to play it, and it cost a lot of money. I mean, it's an expensive process to do a 4-minute song. So at that stage, there was absolutely no idea that we would do the whole record. But when that came out, we got a lot of interest with it, and we won a British Animation Award for that video, which was, again, we had no idea. But seeing that video and how it turned out, it's probably my favorite of the animations. Like, it's just a really cool. There's that the sound of the music going along to Home Time is quite mellow and nice, but lyrically it's a little darker, and which I like, that kind of juxtaposition. And then and also I feel like the same kind of thing with the animation has really captured that for that particular clip. And then we also at the same time managed to get some. We got an offer from Toyota in out here in the States to use that same song for an advert. So that kind of brought us out here for our first ever show, which was in Central Park Zoo, and playing for a Toyota Prius commercial. And that again got some interest out here, where Warner Premiere kind of got in touch with us and liked what we were doing musically and enjoyed the animation, and we ended up getting funding to be able to, the idea for us to continue and animate the whole record, which was a massive pipe dream come true, because there's no way from where we first did it, where we didn't have any management, we didn't have any record label or any of that sort of stuff, we were self-funding an animation. There was no way we couldn't afford to do one, let alone do 10. So it was kind of, when we got to do that, it then became a process where, we got some funding and a bigger media company to be able to do to finish animation. But that took about, to do the rest of the record, which is like another 40 minutes, whatever it is, of animation, it was like another 18 months of 30 guys kind of working on it. So it became a bigger process. But it's just something nice to be able to, we always wanted to be able to have something that was more of an image than just a band playing the songs, because the songs kind of came from a place that was a bit broader than that. So the animated idea to be able to take people away from, a regular set or a regular setup, to be able to kind of get locked into the sounds through animation was a cool kind of concept, and has worked well. We've been really happy with it. It's something that we're very hands-on about, because, even though we're not animators, and that's not, like I said before, we're primarily musicians, the concepts and the idea of the stories are something that's still very important, because we'd written the songs first. which is kind of a backwards way to do something like this. Normally it's kind of a soundtrack to a film, and this was the opposite. This was a film to an album, and so kind of making sure the stories made sense, the characters and that sort of thing kind of stood up, but then also tied into what was happening lyrically with the record. So we had a big say into all that stuff, from the character development right through to the plots and back and forth with storyboards, and it was a very long process, but something that we're proud of to have been able to give the opportunity to express both musically and visually what we wanted to. It's funny because the connection, I think, with songs, they have definitely changed from when we started. I mean, we first kind of all met in London probably around 4 years ago and started developing as a band. And then over that time, because of the time it's taken with the animation to get done, the songs have kind of, as we've played more live and been out here touring, we've definitely developed the sound to another level. So it's kind of, songs have taken on a bit of a new meaning and new sound in that way. But the actual meaning, I think, to the songs, I think that is a very subjective thing, and it's kind of something that, to be honest, if you kind of quite often, if you explain where you're coming from when you wrote a song, it won't be the same thing that someone else catches on to. I mean, our first single, Candy, is a good example of that, where a lot of people come up and have really strong attachment to that song, but for very different reasons. Some people, because at that time in their life they're falling in love or out of love or whatever. It can be complete opposite meanings to different people. So the meanings of the songs are I think very personal and very subjective, even through the band. We all take different things. So I think those kind of meanings and stuff for different people, it's very hard to explain where those kind of things come from. So whatever people can take is a good thing for us. Definitely of some kind, but whether or not it's exactly the same thing, I think that's something we want to be conscious. Well, we're very conscious of, again, musically or however we express ourselves kind of artistically, whether or not it's going to be an animation or the visual aspect. I think is something that we take very seriously, because it's trying to come up with something that's conceptually interesting, to listen to and see, and whether that's a live show or an animation or whatever, we definitely like to develop. But at this stage, we're kind of at phase one of working on new tracks, for the next record, and I think as we sort of go along with that, we'll hopefully, the same way it worked, kind of the first one with some happy accidents. Hopefully, there'll be some more happy accidents. In a strange way, that kind of happened a little bit with this first one, like from where the songs first were to where they are now. We actually got a chance, because the animation took so long to do, to re-record a lot of the tracks, and there's actually different versions for the animation than there are for the actual album, which was kind of a cool thing to do, rather than just be the same versions of songs. But in terms of the future, I think we're all up for, we just enjoy it. We love what we do. It's kind of hard not to. And if an opportunity came up to do something specifically for an animated thing or a film or something like that, we would all love to do that, because it's a different headspace. Really, it's a different kind of you approach that differently. But I think how we go about it, we haven't really decided. We're just kind of at this stage. It's kind of writing and working on stuff on the back of the bus while we tour around America, and we'll see what the future holds, really. Yeah, regarding like getting time in to be able to write stuff seriously, there's interesting parts to that, because we all write together and separately. So, for example, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were back in London working out for this tour, and we rehearsed for the first time in probably 4 years, something like that. Which I know sounds nuts, but because we played together so much live, we then this record, the current record, we've had for a long time now. So it's kind of the show was very much focused around that. But then when we got to go in last week and kind of reapproach some songs that we'd kind of been demoing literally on laptops in the back of a bus, to actually then get in all of us together and start putting those songs together, that approach is really nice, because it stops being a demo and all of a sudden it's, parts start coming out, and us playing together, there's a nice chemistry that we know the kinds of sounds and things that we can create and where, things need to go. And So I mean, even for this tour, we've kind of got 5 or 6 new things that we're going to play, on the road, which is really exciting for us because it's kind of those are developing, and there's no better way to kind of prove new tracks than in front of people, and I think that those kind of processes nowadays with the kind of scheduling that we have is the best way to do it. And so with the technology and stuff you have now, like we've all got laptops and stuff that we can work on, and at the if you had the technology, if the Beatles had the stuff that we have now, if they had a MacBook Pro with Logic on it, imagine they were doing stuff with nowhere near the the technology that we have now. So yeah, it definitely does, because I think you kind of form a picture. Images, musically, I think are an important thing to grab onto. So a lot of our musically, even though our core elements are very acoustic, like the sounds of the instruments that we play, the soundscapes that we create with those are quite a bit wider. And I think that kind of conjures up a lot of imagery and when we're writing. So kind of lyrically, the way that affects Christian and what he's writing lyrically is quite important. Like I said before, he's quite film influenced. So I think those kind of things play a big part when things come up lyrically. And even like from where we're at, because I mean, at the last 12 months, we've pretty much been in a bus or a van, I should say, driving around America, and just that imagery alone from looking out a bus window for 12 months, it's pretty eye-opening. We've seen a lot of great stuff and seen a lot of great places, and that definitely affects you, and from the imagery of that, that is definitely going to be coming up on the next record, because that's pretty much all we've seen for the last 12 months. So
like working in a studio and taking all those images and all the experiences that we've had whilst on tour is how the state of mind that we are in when we're in the studio. It's almost like being in the studio, and the music that's created when we're there is a filter for the images that's going to come out. So the images that we get in is how we create the music, and then the finished product is how we're going to move on from there and create the next set of visuals for the next album. I think that's how it worked for the first album as well. And we'd probably use the same format. Everything evolves quite naturally with what we do.